Howdy! It's Jim Morado, and this is mid-June 2023. We are driving to Mammoth Cave, the Cave City, Mammoth Cave area, and past this guy. And I thought he was pretty cool. I just thought I'd put that up. He definitely deserved a quick look. How about that? Always see something interesting on the way to Mammoth Cave. Saw this guy too. Almost always on the way to the Visitor Center, usually within a couple of miles of the Mammoth Cave National Park Visitor Center, we see deer. And this guy obviously was just having a good old time. He finally kind of scattered away. And we, stopped by the Visitor Center just to check out what's new. Still working on the hotel. Looks like it's coming along, though. I was glad to see that. And just always enjoy being at the Mammoth Cave Visitor Center. And you can see they've got the bridge blocked off going over to the hotel. Yeah, it looks like things are progressing, though. Ultimately, though, our goal here today was to go to the Jesse James riding stables and Outlaw Cave. And there's the bus that takes you from their main office over to the cave. And it's a nice little main office / gift shop. And they've got some stuff on the walls about the cave and its connection to Jesse James. Of course, pretty much every cave claims some sort of connection to Jesse James. And have a little game room there. They had, air hockey, but it was right up against the wall. It might be kind of hard to play there. Trying to use their space carefully. They had some cool stuff on the walls, though. I like that painting. Information about the stagecoach going through here. And obviously outlaws were here. There were robberies. And they're claiming that Jesse James had a pretty strong connection here. He was all over Kentucky, so yeah. Anyway, we went here, we bought our tickets. The tickets were not expensive at all, maybe 10 or 12. I don't even think they were that much. Probably one of the cheaper caves to visit in this area. So think about that. Definitely an easy cave to add on to your pilgrimage to Mammoth Cave. Quick, easy tour. I think they claim it's 30 minutes. As you'll see, our tour went close to an hour, so we definitely got our money's worth. We had a great guide, and we just had a lot of fun. But check this out, and I might say a little bit here and there.
I'm more like the science part.
Oh, okay.
Of this cave, so I don't know all that, but them girls in there do.
Okay.
First time I was in this cave was it's been close to 45 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I used to live in Nashville, and I'd always come to Mammoth Cave for my vacations. My dad's first cousin ran the park, so I always got a room or camping spot. Didn't matter when it was.
Yep. And just real quick at the beginning, he mentioned that the cave had been in 4 movies, but he wasn't sure which ones. Just wanted to mention that. We were over at Big Mike's, and I remember meeting Big Mike. I think he passed away shortly after we started that place.
Might have. I was never interested in the rock shops.
Yeah.
More interested in the caving.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I first came in here, this was called Mushroom Cave, and there was no guide. There was no electric lighting. I think it was $3, and the guy would come and open up the cave and say, well, when you're done, close the door. And then he also tried to, I guess at the time, people had told him there were blind cave fish and so forth, and he was trying to tell us, now if you get in there, you can bring me back a specimen or a $10 reward. But I spent the better part of an entire day in this cave the first time I ever came in it, which is, like I said, been 40-some years ago. And it's changed hands and names about 11 times over the since modern man's been coming in here. Wonderland Cave, Adventureland Cave, Mammoth Wonderland Cave, Mushroom Cave, Tin Door Cave. Just a bunch of them. But this is 500 acres here, and we know we've got 14 caves here on the property, which means there's probably another 20 that we don't know about.
Yeah.
part of the Mammoth Cave system. It's called the Toohey Ridge Flint Ridge system. And in the 70s, they did a dye trace here and wound up in the Echo River of Mammoth Cave. So we know it's connected, but not not where people can get through. But it's all part of the same cave system. And this cave is still alive. It's very alive. We have stuff growing in the cave now. A lot of caves don't. A lot of caves are kind of inert, kind of dead. But we keep all the regular bio in the cave going. We don't wash everything down and bleach it. So the cave is still alive. It's also in this area, we've got 2 layers of sandstone above the limestone. In between those 2 layers of sandstone, we get a lot of percolating water. The water turns acidic, and in between 2 layers, it's very acidic, comparatively speaking. And the acid eats away at the limestone, breaking it down into the components for the formations, and potassium nitrate, the saltpeter. This cave was also lined of its saltpeter, and in 2 of the chimneys that we're going to go in, you'll see it. You'll see where the rock is exposed everywhere. Of course, Mammoth Cave had a big saltpeter operation in it as well, mining all the saltpeter out for the Civil War. I don't know if they were doing it for the Revolutionary War or the War 1812, but we know they did for the Civil War. And then when I first come in here, at some point, they grew mushrooms here in the cave entrance, which is a man-made big entrance here. And the first time when I came here, they still had shelving and stuff where they grew the mushrooms that were just kind of laying around as artifacts. And Mammoth Cave, I didn't realize it till somebody told me last week, Mammoth Cave did the same thing. Tried to grow mushrooms and make money.
I was unaware of that too, yeah.
So there's been a long history, not just of the Jesse James, but of the Jolly Brothers. And there was a still in here 45 years ago. The still, somebody at some point between the time when I was in here and now broke in, stole the pigtail off the still. Well, when they did that, they took the copper pot up to one of the barns. So there's been a lot of of course, people like to party and go in caves. They always have, they always will, as long as there's been caves. And
did you ever make it to the Bell Witch Cave down there?
That's in Adams.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I had a friend who was in a contest. I forget what he won, but whoever stayed in the cave longest, his name was Bill Overton. He was one of the people in my caving group in Nashville. At one point I was president of the Nashville Grotto.
Oh.
And so I would have never thought 40-some years ago, well, this is where you're going to be when you retire, buddy. Get used to it.
Oh. It's okay to go on in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have very few artifacts left because of thievery and people breaking in. We've got a 6-shooter up there at the office that we can't say it was Jesse James because we don't know. Mm-hmm. But obviously someone drank enough whiskey to lose their gun and didn't find it. This is one of the buckets they used for the potassium nitrate mining, which back then potassium nitrate was very expensive. This is where they grew the mushrooms, all up in here, going all the way into the main room here. Now we do have some cave frogs, and I didn't think they were ever going to come out this year, but they did because we saw them last week. Well, they're called leopard frogs, and they live all up in here in the entrance. There's even a few that'll get back in the cave. Not seeing any little eyes peering back out at me this morning, though. We have cave salamanders, the big camelback crickets. We've got a little spider that feeds on the crickets' eggs. They don't feed on the crickets, just their little eggs. They dig them up and eat them. We've got pack rats, moles, all kind of little creatures used as, you know, mainly the entrance here.
Yeah.
Been about a month ago, we had 3 big bats in here, and usually we don't ever have big bats in here. We've got these little ones that are about the size of a walnut, maybe at the biggest, you know, for their body. And that was exciting because I'd never been in here and seen big bats. People that already know cave science, I don't go ahead and say a lot about cave science. Do y'all know much about how everything works in the cave?
Stalactites, stalagmites. We probably know the basics, I guess, you know.
Okay. Well, what happens here, and the reason this cave and all the caves in this area are still active is this acid water.
Yeah.
It gets trapped in between the 2 layers of sandstone, melts the limestone, turning it into calcium carbonate or potassium nitrate, depending on what acid's reacting at that time, and that's what makes the formations. Of course, acids reduce any solids, and then during that reduction turns into different chemical than limestone. The chemicals are leached out of the limestone with the acid, and that's what makes the formations.
Yeah.
Now there would have been potassium nitrate on this wall, and this has been blasted back in the day. And when I say back in the day, it could have been anywhere from the late 1700s to the 1900s. There's our cave crickets. We have a lot. They come out. And it's funny when people that are really scared of them, I'll always give it.
There's
to try to make them fall.
I can see a couple scurrying around there.
Yeah.
If you look real close, there,
we've
yeah.
got some huge ones. That's like a nursery. These are our babies.
Oh, geez.
But this is something I found interesting with this first pillar. Is I always thought these pillars were solid, and I've been in hundreds of caves, and
There's some right behind you, some cave crickets.
yeah,
Saw a couple moving around there.
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
there's
There we
one.
go.
There's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, he's not a big one. He's hopping too, boy.
Ooh.
So light. So I thought, these pillars would be like a stalactite or stalagmite with some kind of neat rock inside. Just honeycomb affected limestone. Now this is some of the living cave rock that's forming in here. Of course, it's a little dry today. We've got a drought going on, but got several areas that we have the living cave rock that's being deposited, currently. This is one of them. I don't know if this is potassium nitrate or calcium carbonate.
all over
Yeah,
the
there's
place.
some big ones. Here's where the little soda straws would be. And so this was blasted out close to 200 years ago, so that's how much forms in 200 years, which is just like a millimeter.
Yeah.
Jesse James' bathtub, when this cave had more water in it, this would hold water, and it kind of looked like a bathtub, and so that's why they called it that. And I think the archaeologists, when they've been in here, this spot had river rock, the smooth pebbles, which doesn't belong in here, and so they surmised that the Indians would heat up the rocks, put them in here and then use it therapeutically. Not necessarily for the bathing and sanitary aspects, but to get some hot water on them. Also have the Cave Research Foundation out of the park. It comes in here about once a month and does research. They found shark cartilage fossils in the walls here. They've shown me a couple of times, but it's a lot to remember where exactly it is. But up in the ceiling, you can see all the fossils of the crinoid kind of life forms. Every one of these round places is a fossil. Of course, crinoids were the kind of cross between a plant and an animal that grew in the ancient seabed. So you know the ceiling up above us at one time was the ancient seabed, and the floor was actually almost to the ceiling when this cave was first forming. In the 20s and 30s in this area we had what was called the cave wars. Yeah. And that was where they would do things to get people into their compounds, like they'd have somebody like me dressed up as a policeman or a ranger up here at the road, stopping people, going.
There's a great book that came out a few years ago about that I knew a little bit of that stuff, but I didn't know how dirty it got.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you were talking about the 20s, which is, and the 30s, the Depression. And this is already Appalachia, the poorest part of the whole country. So they'd come in here, break off stuff, sell it to the tourists. But we figured that they had really been doing that since the 1700s in here too, because people want to see the cave rock. It doesn't look like any rock from the outside. And so when Mammoth Cave came into effect in the early 40s, they started enforcing federal law as far as caves about not taking stuff out of caves. You can't sell cave rock anymore. Which there are places, these rock shops in the area, and we do too sell cave rock, but they're not United States cave rock.
Yeah.
And they don't come from here, they come from Brazil or Argentina or the Philippines or something like that. Because it's illegal to sell cave rock harvested in the United States. And this is right behind you here, is the stalactite that made up this pillar, and I guess they thought at some point, well, let's take it down. It's probably got some of that gray crystal in it. And all they found was just gray rock. So they left it, fortunately. This is the area we call the well. It's really a chimney. But this used to have a lot of water in it. It kept water in it. The water would be so clear you couldn't even see the water. So the guide would take a little bitty rock and go, just to show you that it was water in there.
Yeah.
Here's some more living cave rock right here. In the last few years, just like a lot of places, we've been having a lot of drought. This cave used to be very wet. It's not completely dry, but we're very dry. We're in the part of the middle section of this cave. This is the area that takes us up to the upper level. And this is also where the sheriff collapsed this end of the cave trying to get Jesse James out of here.
Like for real, they know this for sure?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, he built a bonfire, and I don't think that worked too well, so they used dynamite.
And that's all
Yeah, that's what this deadfall is. But over the time, of course, it's been 150 years, some of the material come loose from where he made it a deadfall. We can get back through there. And this also takes you down to the stream passage. This is one of the areas we take people wild caving.
Oh, wow.
We've got a bat room back here that bats will use for hibernating when they're here. We haven't seen a lot of bats lately, so we don't figure they were really hibernating in here much this winter. Of course, bats are protected too, And so if you do have hibernating bats, you can't even go in there. Even though you own the place, you can't, you're not allowed to go in. You're not supposed to
How
anyway.
tight of a squeeze does that get through there?
This is not bad.
Okay.
Now, when we go down to the two chimneys, I'm going to show you an area you're going to say, what?
Oh. You know, I think about like Floyd Collins, and I don't think people get, he's pretty much just sucking his gut in, going through little tiny holes, basically.
Yeah, well, that was a sandstone cave too,
okay.
and it, you know, they're not safe. It's not safe like these caves. The limestone caves, people will ask, what happens if we're in the cave and there's an earthquake? Well, I've never seen any earthquake damage in here. I don't reckon nothing, because it really doesn't. Nature makes the caves perfect, and so if there was some kind of rock falling or something, it'd be rare. I have been in a cave and heard a large rock fall before, but that's been 20 years ago.
Oh.
I've never heard, you know, a rock fall since then. But all this stuff is broken off. All the formations is trying to grow back, but like I said, it takes a long time, even though this cave is very active. And you can see places all in the cave where you've got new rock growing, things forming. Here's a couple of the nodules forming. A lot of times what happens when the formations kind of dry out, then there's moisture in the air. The moisture gets on the dry formation and makes the popcorn effect, where water's gotten on the surface of the dry formation and it's sucking the calcium carbonate back out, and then you'll have an area right next to it that's melting the popcorn back down into formation again. And of course, everywhere that you've got the big formations, you're going to have a water source. Right behind you, for this formation, this curtain, that was its water source. That almost looks like a perfect little bathroom sink.
Mm-hmm.
And the guts of the cave are covered in water like this. Which, you know, I'm glad we've got some moisture in here, because last year in the fall you didn't see any of this. You didn't see beads of water anywhere. And the reason the water looks different in a cave and on the ceiling, looks like crystals or whatever, is because the water is pure water. It's given up its mineral. And so it's pretty much pure H2O, and it looks more like crystals or whatever than just if you just sprayed something down with the city water. Of course, this area has been, like I said, this has been broken out. We don't know exactly when they did all this, but here's your soda straw formations, which all the stalactites and stalagmites start from. You know, people say, what? That big old pillar over there was this big? Yeah, that's how it started. Okay, y'all know not to put your hands on the formations, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The wall on the left is good though, it's man-made. You need to get a handhold. The oil on her hands comes off on the formations and water beads off and basically kills them. In that area anyway that's been touched.
Ooh, watch your step right here, Jim. Oh, thank you.
Now this is where the other area I was telling you, you may not believe that we take people through here, but we do.
Oh, wow.
And it's even smaller than that because there's a rock on the other side that you have to get over once you're even in the hole. But you can see where it's all the mud slicked down and there's feet prints. So
how far back do you have to squeeze like that?
Just getting in there, and that's it.
Okay. You know, I've never really been claustrophobic, but the older I get, I'll have nightmares where I'm in a tight squeeze like that or something. And
well, I used to have dreams about caving until I went caving enough, you know, that kind of... This is one of the areas where they mine the potassium nitrate off the walls. It's very evident here. This is probably one of the areas that it's most evident. And then these two chimneys were going in. And here you're able to see the stratification of the rock, of this sedimentary rock, limestone. And each one of these lines represents what was the bottom of the ocean. People say, well, how do you know that? And on down here, even right here, you can see little bumps in the limestone. Mm-hmm. I tell them, because the seashells, you can tell this was the ancient ocean from the seashells. Each one of these white dots is the calcium left over from a seashell. And in some cases, the actual seashells are still in here. The green is algae caused from this light.
Yeah.
But in here, potassium nitrate covered the wall until you came up to this formation material, calcium carbonate. Well, calcium carbonate is no good for gunpowder, and that's what the potassium nitrate is. The saltpeter is used for. The nitrates in it to make gunpowder. And how you'd have the potassium nitrate up to right here and then stop, I don't know. I'm not that much of a scientist, so I don't know how that
is
happens.
Peculiar. That is weird.
Huh?
It is weird.
It's weird that you've got two different chemicals and they come together right here, but they would drill holes through the potassium nitrate, not to put dynamite, but to get a pick hold.
Oh.
Because potassium nitrate's considerably softer than the calcium carbonate, which has already turned to crystal. And basically a pollutant in the gunpowder mixture. So they'd get a pick hold and start flaking it off. Because if you just sat there and beat on it, you'd just make little dimples in it or get some sand, dust, so to speak. And here's one of the areas where you can really see where the seashells were.
Oh, yeah.
They're just everywhere. I get a little smart aleck with people, and I've told them 3 or 4 times, well, this is ancient. Well, how do you know about it? I said, well, all the seashells that shows it was an ocean.
Oh.
Now, for us adults, it's best to come down these stairs backwards. You don't have to.
Wow.
But because they're so steep, we tend to tilt forward. Just do whatever makes you most comfortable. Just hold on to the handhold. This whole chamber in through here, we're coming down through, the potassium nitrate was stripped off the walls. Anywhere you can see the striation in the rock, you'll know that it's been stripped of its potassium nitrate. That's the sign, because you wouldn't be able to see the rock in this cave because everything in this cave is covered with formations.
You got it, sweetie.
Once you come down to the bottom of the ladder, you've got 2 more large steps, so...
Oh, thank you for the warning.
Yeah. These 2 rooms are my favorite part of the commercial cave here.
I'm not going to move till you're a couple steps down. Okay, you got it?
In here, they stripped the potassium nitrate off the walls. How we know that? You can see the striation in the limestone. One wall was potassium nitrate. This wall was calcium carbonate.
Oh.
And how that happens, I don't know.
But those nightmares I was telling you about, that right there.
Yeah.
You got it, sweetie.
But this is one of the chimneys where this cave actually started. And you know this because you see this gray rock in the middle. That's a sandstone. This dark rock is actually white limestone that's covered with biomaterial. So the water came in between this gray rock, the dark rock, which is actually white limestone, and started eating this whole chimney out. Now it took about 350 million years to make the bedrock. It's taken another 1.5 million to 2.5 million to make the cave. And this is a sign of everything in here is mineral rock.
Oh.
Other rocks won't make any noise. This will make noise because minerals laid down in striations. And there's all these microscopic cracks in between which allows it to resonate. Here's a lot of the formation bearing rock, crystal bearing rock. Here's where you're getting a new formation. Been broken off and nature's trying to heal itself. And this is pretty weird. The formation was broke out here, and what's that look like? Scab?
Yeah.
On a human body?
Yeah.
That's what it does to me. So she's trying to fix it.
Yeah. Are we going back out the same way we came?
Yes. This room was covered in the potassium nitrate, and because we know this because you can see the walls. It was stripped off the walls, and all, you know, when it was stripped off the walls, that's where you can see all this striation. You can even see it better if I don't even have my light on it. So here, almost all the way to the top, had potassium nitrate in it. They flaked it off the walls. They took and broke off, when they were up there mining, they went ahead and broke off stalactites, trying to get that pretty crystal rock. They could take it home, give it away, sell it. And of course in here, every place you see these white dots is calcium from a seashell. Of course the rock is comprised of more than just seashells. It's coral, seashells, and then animal life. Here again, you've got this gray sandstone cap. The darker white limestone's been stained with the biomaterial, and then the water's come in and chemically dissolved this whole shaft. And then as it did that, it laid down either the formation or the potassium nitrate ash formation. We're standing up on this little area right here. Well, the reason we're able to stand up here is because when this thing was being made and water had a place to go, it didn't eat the ground underneath us. Another stalagmite, and then this one right behind you. And this one's a little different because this one is crystal in the middle.
Oh.
Now these little formations, or when these start as formations, are hollow. And so the more pure material gathers in the middle. Here's some of the pure form of the calcium carbonate. And so what's fascinating to me is here you got this rock here, you go 6 inches here, nothing.
Yeah.
This was broken off. These were like fins. Bless you.
I'm sorry.
Crystal. People broke it off. A lot of caves are pretty much, at one time in this cave you could find big pieces of crystal laying around all over the place. We had an older gentleman who, I guess it's been several years ago, came in with bags of rocks up here to the office. He said, when I was a kid, my mom would come into your cave and take the rocks and sell them, and this is what she had passed. And he was an older man in the 70s or 80s, and said, this is the, some of the rock that we had left. And when I was a kid, I knew what she was doing was wrong, but here's the rocks back anyway.
Do they display those anywhere? Do they do?
We've got one of them right here as we came in on top of the big piece of calcite.
Give them credit for that, I guess.
Yeah. But we're kind of digging out here. This is and it actually has some formation in it in the tunnel, which tells you this was open. This has been filled up with this rubble. probably during some flooding. And so they're digging this part out. There's another part of the cave they're digging out, trying to get through. This cave used to join up with another little cave about 300 yards up this from where we drove in, and the stream passage in between the two caves is filled up as well. But this shows you how the water action in the cave determines everything. This was a big water supply, this was a big water supply, and then this takes you up to another part of the cave. Another big water supply.
Well, have you been up there?
40 some years ago. Now the lady that I'm going wild caving with on Thursday here has been up here about 5 or 6 years ago.
You just bring in a humongous ladder or something, or
No, it just climbed.
Oh my gosh. That's ready to fall.
No, well, and you have on hard hat, lights, knee pads, you know. But I had big plans of when I retired moving here doing a whole bunch of caving. And my knees had gotten bad, and of course I was smoked. I had to quit smoking, and I've joined the Cave Research Foundation. I've had to do a bunch of this stuff just to be able to go on an expedition.
Yeah, yeah.
Which we're also located in the park and have our own private entrance to Mammoth Cave. Yeah. We're going out. We're just going to go out the same way we came in.
Have you mapped any of Mammoth Cave or done anything cool like that? Or?
I used to be on the federal call-out team for doing rescues in Mammoth Cave, and it's been probably 20 years ago, maybe not that long, maybe 15 or 20 years ago. I was on one of the training expeditions that we were doing 7 miles in the cave.
Oh.
And I got a sprained ankle at the beginning of and I went 7 miles with that sprained ankle. And I mean, when I took my boot off, it was like blowing up a football.
Yeah, yep.
And I've been probably through 60, 70 miles of Mammoth Cave.
Oh, there's some bragging rights.
When I was younger, I would come because my dad's first cousin ran the hotel and all the park stuff. You know, there was any money involved. And so I got a room or a campsite or whatever whenever I came, got treated like a VIP. So I said, you know, I kind of like this place, getting treated like a VIP and all that.
Yeah.
And so I've just always loved it here.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the first tours I had this season when there were 3 large bats. I'm talking about bats with great big wingspans. And we came in, we disturbed them, there were 3 of them. They flew around and flew around, but it was like in a movie or something where they just went,
Oh yeah.
and there's a big crevice over here where usually wherever the bats go, up high, if you just look down, you'll see their guano.
Yeah.
This is one of those places.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that just corresponds with this.
Yes.
And you see everywhere in the ceiling where the ceiling has cracked and water comes through, the formations come back in and fill the crack back up.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
And of course all these over time were broken off. I guess a lot of them were just broken off to the point where they realized that it wasn't crystal, and so they'd stop.
Yeah.
This formation, like I said, any of these formations have water supplies. This one's right behind it, and this crack. And can y'all see the cave horse? In here on the wall here,
Wait, where am I missing it?
where my light shining, straight ahead of it.
Hold on.
Who can see the horse first? Here's his head, his mane, front leg,
Oh, okay, yes.
belly,
Yeah,
back legs, the back.
Yeah, okay.
It's called pareidolia.
Yes.
That's where, you know, you see a cloud and it looks like a poodle or a dragon or something.
Yes.
And that's where our mind just wants to identify things.
Yeah.
And so that's our cave horse. This is one of the offenses. If I don't show people this, then I can be fired for it. Because of the riding stables.
Oh, yes. When we go back up there, I'm going to be like, where was that horse? You never showed us the horse.
Yeah. Don't do that. Hell, I just bought a new truck. You can if you're going to help me pay for that new truck. But most of Mammoth Cave doesn't have all this formation.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who go to Mammoth Cave and then they come here, they'll say, well, we've seen more than 10 minutes here in your cave and 2.5 hours in Mammoth Cave. I said, well, that's right. We got the best cave around.
Well, and you said it's technically connected, so it's...
It is. This is part of the Tui Ridge, Flint Ridge system, which Mammoth Cave is part of. And most of Mammoth Cave just didn't form like this one. A lot of Mammoth Cave formed from flowing water. We've got another tour coming in. Hey!
Hey, how's it going, man? Jesse knows we're here. I bought the Alpine slide.
Yeah.
I'm just showing him the cave.
Okay.
Pretty cool stuff.
It is, isn't it?
You know the deal here. What's the name of this one called?
This is, what's had 11 names over time. Oh, the pillar. This is called a pillar. I don't know, they may call it something.
Yeah, what's the other one? There's the horse over here or something?
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool stuff.
We just looked at the horse.
Yeah. Love this place. But look at this, bud.
So you can really see where the fossils are here, everywhere in the ceiling. This was this crinoid kind of animal. Cross between a plant and an animal. Grew on the bottom of this ancient ocean. And then of course, like I said, the Cave Research Foundation people have been in here lately and they've shown us where the shark cartilage in the wall, which is just really rare. They wanted us to dig out a piece of it. I said, no, we'll keep our shark cartilage right there in the wall. Yes. Well, we can't certify that. Said, that's fine.
We'll live with that.
We'll live with that. We'll just leave it right there where it is.
Well, they made a big deal out of Mammoth Cave finding some shark stuff not too long ago. How long ago did they find the cartilage here?
Last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had one of the board members and his son on a tour last year. And had never been in this little cave. And of course, like I said, this is way different than Mammoth Cave, which has very little formations and stuff, and this is nothing but formations. So they come in regularly every month and do expeditions and have fun too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Well, I would ask you how much of this cave has been mapped, but if it's part of Mammoth Cave, I guess it's slightly
really
over
not
400
part
miles.
of Mammoth Cave. It's part of Mammoth Cave in the fact that it's part of this system, but it's not part of it like, you know, water came through Mammoth Cave and then came through this cave. This is just part of the whole Tui Ridge, Flint Ridge system, which, like I said, we've got 14 caves on the property. And which probably means we've got 50 or more.
Yeah.
We just haven't discovered them. Yeah, that guy was the one, he just bought the action park over here, connected with us. And I guess he's one of the co-owners of the Titans, I think.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That was weird getting walked in on during the tour.
Well, I was a little concerned there for a moment or two.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned. I'm a good shot.
I noticed that.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Yep.
I guess that's one of the reasons they have me here, because I got that mentality too. You know?
Yep.
But like for instance, this door lock was here when this was 10-door cave. And people, as soon as they see these shoes, they think horseshoes. But those are not horseshoes, those are donkey shoes. Horseshoes are great big.
Okay.
Because when they would come here with a buckboard, you didn't waste a good horse on a wagon. If it was a good horse, you'd just use a donkey or whatever you had. And of course, whiskey bottles. Here's a piece of that rock that older gentleman brought back.
Oh, okay.
It's quartzite. And of course, like I said, this cave at one point was littered with this kind of rock, but people just kind of, it looks so different. I gotta have a piece of that.
I used to, when I was younger in western Kentucky, I'd find arrowheads frequently.
Oh yeah.
And I've got my dad's collection, and it's been decades since I picked one up.
Yeah, I gave my daughter my arrowhead collection, and I guess she sold them.
Oh.
And she's a scholar. This was a stalactite on the ceiling. Like I said, you can see how it's hollow. This was the crystal where...
Yeah, just real quick, there was actually an Amber Alert that happened while we were in the cave. Just a couple quick thoughts there, and I wanted to mention, before we even started our tour, we had been talking to him in the little visitor center gift shop. I didn't realize he was going to be our cave guide, but we had started talking about caves and just, Mammoth Cave, the area, and the fact that he had spent a lot of time in Tennessee. So, we kind of made some references to our conversation before our actual tour started. Also, what did you think about that stair, I guess the stairway up and down? It was very tight. And again, even in my video, I don't think it really conveys just how tight of a squeeze that was. That was kind of thrilling in a way. I guess it was just a tight squeeze, but we made it. And we got to see some great formations. He gave a great tour. I really enjoyed this guide, and I hope he keeps doing this, because he's really good at it. You can tell he cares about what he's doing. So that's yeah.
So we've got another cave about 400 or 500 yards up this way. Me and one of the employees was in about a month and a half ago. And we had just gotten in, both of us were winded, and we're sitting in the entrance where we crawled in, and all of a sudden, just beyond our lights, we're hearing rustling. So it was some kind of animal in there.
Oh my gosh.
We don't know what exactly it was.
I've had those moments.
And of course, you don't want to get a raccoon or a squirrel or anything hemmed up, because they're going to...
Yep.
They're going to go after you. So she said, what do we do? I said, well, just get out.
It's I read there's the guy in southern Indiana, I forget the cave, but he developed it over the last, 10 years or so.
He developed what?
It's one of the southern Indiana caves.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book about it, and I read that book.
There's a bunch of caves in southern Indiana, not like here, but...
it's one of the four main...
there's Wayne's Lost, Rivkin.
They do boat tours. I know they do boat tours.
Boat tours.
I'll think of it later, but they... it's just fascinating how much work goes into starting, a show cave.
Yeah. And ours is a show cave, but it's not like most of these show caves.
Yeah.
Most of the show caves that you're going to see in this area, all the formations have been bleached.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's not me, but
yeah.
they want it to look pretty for the tourists, but at the same time, you don't really get the idea of what a cave really is.
Yeah.
Because they're not clean and white and sanitized.
There was the guy that opened Cub Run Cave was reopened, 10 years ago? And I totally missed that. I didn't get to go. The guy, I think the guy bought it and opened it, and then he passed away or something.
Could be.
And I hate it when a cave closes. I hate when there's not that kind of access.
Yeah.
You do a lot more of the wild stuff, though, so you...
I used to do more conservation than anything, where I'd go into a cave and would start cleaning it up. Caves that haven't been tourist caves, most of if they're easily accessible, people have used them for partying.
Yeah.
And you find every kind of liquor and wine bottle and trash and mattresses and mannequins and just, we had truckloads of garbage. We took out a Hardin's junkyard cave where people have been going in there for as long as there's been a candle you could put on a helmet. And even after we put jail cell kind of bars across the cave, they come in with a hydraulic bar spreader. Come in with a power grinder and cut the bars. So we'd even do further things like put beads of nickel on the bars so that if you were using something battery portable, you'd wear it out before you could get through. And in that cave, that's the biggest cave in Davidson County, Tennessee. It had two entrances. One was real hard to get through, and we'd gated it too, but we decided that it was better to just leave the hard entrance open and keep the big entrance barred up, where, people that were bound and determined to go in could go in through the hard entrance. Now, if I'd have been able to try to retire about 20 years ago, yes, I'd have wild caved in every cave around here, but it's just not in the cards for me. So I get to do this that satisfies the caving instinct in me. Get to share, what little knowledge I have of the cave science. We didn't lose anybody, did we?
No, 1, 2. No, I think we're good.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that was great. That was. I expected it to be okay. It was better than I expected. I've heard it's a smaller cave, but that was packed a wallet.
What you see.
There's a white spider.
It's a little spider thing. Where'd it go?
Yeah, he's green, so he's cool.
I didn't know if it was a cave spider that got on me, or.
I doubt it. No, It doesn't look like. They're almost microscopic.
Yeah,
we'll find them later tonight.
Yeah, so what'd you think? I thought that was a great tour. We had a great guide, and he, obviously cares about caves and caving, what's going on in a cave. You've always, anytime you talk to somebody, even if they've caved for 40 plus years, he mentioned that he wasn't as much into the rocks, but, he was interested in other aspects of the cave. And I just thought that was kind of cool. And, he claimed that he had, been through, I think he said over 60 miles of Mammoth Cave. I thought that was just incredible, and I'm so jealous. Definitely not in that kind of shape to even think about wild caving like that. But man, was he fun to talk to. I forgot to ask the ladies working in the gift shop about the movies filmed at Outlaw Cave. And and I've Googled around. I haven't been able to find information on that. He mentioned there were 4 movies filmed at the cave. If you know anything about that, let me know. I'm just curious. But yeah, that was a really, really different cave tour in a lot of ways. I also noticed, even where I wasn't pointing my camera in the dark areas, there were a lot of creepy crawly things in there, lots of life. And I bet when it's really dark in there, that place really, really wakes up. But just a neat cave tour. I enjoyed going down that very tight squeeze stairway that you saw, and it's hard to convey on video just how tight that was. I mean, it was very, very tight, and maybe one of the tightest squeezes I've been through in a show cave. What'd you think, though? What'd you think about that? Have you been to Jesse James riding stables in Outlaw Cave? Let me know if you have. I thought this was a really underrated attraction in this area. Half a dozen or so show caves, in addition to Mammoth Cave, within about a 5-10 mile drive. And this is one that I don't think gets much attention. Honestly, it was one of the last ones we finally made it to. And I'm glad we did, and I'm glad we had him for our guide. That was just a lot of fun. Tickets, man, I don't even think they were $10. I bought 2 tickets, and I bought about 4 little stickers that were $3 each, and it was around $30. So this is a very affordable cave to visit. They've also got mini golf, of course, the horseback riding. Have you done the horseback riding there? If you have, let me know. That might be something really nice and different to do in this area. I'd love to hear from anybody that has. Of course, this is one of my favorite areas on the planet. It's very underrated. It's not built up like some other national park areas. It's a little bit off the beaten path, and it's still a major, wonder of the world, really. And it's always great getting to go here. I love getting into the main Mammoth Cave. I love seeing some of these little side caves. Always love getting to Big Mike's. More on this area later. I'm here every few months, 2 or 3 months. We try to make it out here. But yeah, let me know what you think. I just thought that was a lot of fun.